Imagine you are buying a used car. The seller looks you in the eyes and says, never been in an accident, single owner, perfect condition. You trust him, you pay the money. A week later, you discover the car had two major accidents and extensive repairs. At that moment, you have not just bought a bad car, you have become a victim of fraud. Hi, I am Prasad. And let's be honest, most of us believe that fraud happens only in huge corporate scams, corporations, or multi-crore financial frauds. But contract law teaches us something different. Fraud can happen in the purchase of a car, a house, an insurance policy, a business deal, or even a simple online transaction. Today we are discussing fraud under section 17 of the Indian Contract Act. A simple question: what's the difference between being wrong and knowingly telling a lie? That difference is exactly where fraud begins. What does section 17 say? Fraud occurs when a person suggests a fact that is false while knowing it is false, actively conceals a fact, makes a promise without intending to perform it, performs any act intended to deceive. Notice the common thread: intention to deceive. That's the heart of fraud. Let's look at one story: the used car. Let us return to our car seller. He knows the car was in a major accident, the chassis was damaged, but he deliberately hides that information. He isn't mistaken, he isn't careless, he knows the truth and he chooses to hide it. That is fraud. The famous case of Derry versus Peak in 1889. This is again one of the most cited cases and a famous fraud cases. A company issued statements suggesting it had authority to run certain operations. The, the statements turned out to be false. The court emphasized an important principle: fraud requires knowledge of falsity or reckless disregard for the truth. In simple language, you must know you are lying or not care whether you are lying. Can silence be fraud? This will surprise you. Generally, mere silence is not fraud. You are not always legally required to volunteer information, but there are important exceptions. Suppose a person buying a house asks, are there any legal disputes regarding this property? You know there are, but you deliberately hide it. Now silence becomes deceptive and fraud may arise. Why is fraud different from undue influence? Let's do a very quick comparison. In undue influence, trust me, pressure comes from relationship. It's the trust that is the most important factor. In fraud, believe this false statement. Pressure comes from deception. Modern day examples, there are umpteen number of examples. Think about fake investment schemes, misleading advertisements, online marketplace scams, false job offers, fraudulent property sales. The principles of section 17 are everywhere. What are the legal consequences? If consent is caused by fraud, the contract becomes voidable. The affected party may rescind the contract, seek legal remedies, claim damages in appropriate cases. One thing I find fascinating about fraud is that it attacks something invisible, not money, not property, not documents. It attacks trust. And once trust disappears, contracts become meaningless. That is why the law treats fraud so seriously. Let's do a quick recap. Remember, fraud requires intention to deceive, false statements made knowingly, concealment can amount to fraud, mere silence is generally not fraud, consent obtained through fraud is not a free consent. A contract survives mistakes. It may even survive misunderstandings, but it struggles to survive deliberate lies. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Share it with someone who believes contract law is only about paperwork. In the next episode, we will go through the nuances of misrepresentation when a false statement is made honestly without any intention to deceive. And that distinction is very important. So, until then, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep listening. Thank you very much.